Good afternoon, Quilt Roadies. It is a rainy, foggy, overcast day in my little part of Oregon. But, you know, we're known for that, so nothing new there, right? We are so looking forward to some sunshine, though. And, I mean, every morning I play the New York Times, some games on the New York Times games list. That's the first thing I do over coffee. The first thing G does over coffee is check the weather. And boy, if there's any break in the weather, he is out hiking around. Well, my friend Danielle, who was a high school classmate, if you're there, Danielle, hi, recommended a movie to me called The Queen Bees, and apparently it came out in 2021 to little fanfare. And I was thinking about it, and I was going, why is that? Why would it not have just, you know, have everyone talking about it? I mean, it had really blockbuster stars in it. I mean, James Caan, Ellen Burstyn, just Anne Margaret, Christopher Lloyd. I mean, I was just kind of like, wow, I don't even remember hearing about it. And then I thought, when it came out, I was in my 60s and believing that 60s was the new 40, and so I wasn't going to be watching any movie about moving to assisted living. And now I watched that movie and it totally touched my heart. It cracked me up. I laughed, I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, are my kids gonna think that, you know? I really enjoyed it. So if you're of the age that I am, I know you'd enjoy it. If you're younger, if you're a younger quilter, you might want to watch it just to be ready for your parents. Well, I'm sitting in a different spot, so I thought I'd give you a different view of the beehive. So at this end of the room is my cutting table, and this is what I'm talking about in this house. The ceiling is pitched, so there isn't a lot of spots to hang quilts, more little things. And so I have on the back wall there above my cutting table postcards, framed postcards that I have purchased at the Quilters Affair and the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show, which people send in postcards from all over the world, and they are sold as a fundraiser for the music and the arts in the community. And then I have my son's right there. He drew that Singer sewing machine picture for me, and it's quite interesting because he did it like a negative. He had to draw it in the negative, so, you know. Of course, I'm his mother. I think he's absolutely talented when it comes to art. I have talented children. One is really great at computer and gaming and all of that, and the other is recreational time, is art and going out in the woods. Yes. The other postcards, that postcard right there, I bought during the fundraiser. It's Scott Hansen's Trees, and it's a tree. And the reason I bought it is I thought I will never, ever have an opportunity to take his class because I'm always working at during the Quilters Affair, and but he let me know ahead of time what day he was going to be teaching the trees class in 2024. And so when I got my contract, I said, I would like to have this day off, and I'll do sit and stitch all the other days you want me to. And so they were nice enough to do that. So I waited and got in the class. I'm really excited, and so I already ordered my pattern from the Stitching Post. This is a very, very popular class, and Scott's design name is Blue Nickel Studios. And so if you can see, everyone that has taken the class has done fabulous. I mean, there have been some fabulous quilts that have come out of there. It's all scrappy, and I've decided that this year, this quilt, since I was so lucky to get in the class, I am going to make it as an ode to my maternal family tree, and which means that since this is trees, all of my trees are going to be pieced out of my collection of Asian fabrics. I'm really excited about it, not only because I have a lot of Asian fabrics, but the whole what do you want? How do I want to say this? The thing that quilters feel a lot of times is the giving and the creating and the meaningfulness of a quilt. A quilt has it's not just a bunch of fabrics that are cut up. Yeah, you cut up a bunch of fabrics, but most often it's either the desire of the quilter to create something amazing, or they're making it for someone special. I have a girlfriend who's made hundreds of quilts for children as comfort quilts in the community over on the other side of the mountain. So there's something beautiful about quilting and quilters. And this quilt, I think, is going to be so amazing that I'm really looking forward to this class with Scott. So you might look him up, Blue Nickel Studios. Yeah. So now that I have the pattern, and I ordered the pattern from the Stitching Post, and it tells me how much fabric I have to have for each tree and what variety I need. I'm going to be going through that pile of Asian fabrics. I hope some of you will be at Sit and Stitch, which is what I run at the Quilters Affair, and I'll be doing 4 days of Sit and Stitch. So if you have an opportunity to come just hang out for the day and stitch, please join me. Please join me. It's such a relaxing, fun day. Everyone is doing a different thing. Sit and Stitch is not about one quilt. It is about whatever you feel like working on. And we have had some amazing things come out of Sit and Stitch. 2 years ago, I had a husband and wife who were putting together a quilt. Together. Oh, so beautiful. So what else have I been doing? Well, I was looking for something, and that's always dangerous when I'm looking for something in the beehive, because I create chaos. And usually I don't find what I'm looking for. In this particular case, I was looking for what's called a floss bling. And my friend Chris, who has an Etsy shop, not only creates project bags, but floss bling, where like in embroidery or cross stitch, any kind of stitching where you have floss, you hang it on the bling for the certain project. And I was looking for it because I could have swore I had gotten it, and it turned out I didn't. It came in the mail the day I was tearing apart my sewing room. But what ended up happening was I discovered several other projects that were already in process. And one of the things I wanted to enjoy this year was to finish, and not finish with a capital F like I'm reprimanding myself, but to actually jump back into a project that I loved, but I got squirreled, and it was a whole nother thing that I ran down, and I never finished the first one. And I totally acknowledge that that is who I am, and I wouldn't change one cell in my body. But I also want to have that satisfaction of completion. And my word for the year is contentment. And so I received a pillow with the word contentment stitched on it from Under the Woolen Willow. She has an Etsy shop also. And it's a beautiful reminder that, for me, that contentment comes in many forms. And I know that when I have finished something, there's a peace and contentment that comes over. So that's kind of my goal. So when I was looking, that sounds like the neighborhood landscapers are here. So hold on a second, I'm gonna close the window. Did you miss me? I thought, well, since I'm up, I would show you the pillow. And if you want to send her your word, she will create a pillow for you. And it has a little, it has a wool heart with a year charm. And then on this card is the definition of contentment. That's what I want for myself this year, is contentment. So where was I? Well, first of all, I'm going to show you what made me go off a crazy path. I belong to a Facebook group, and if you're interested, you can go on and request to join the Facebook group. It's run by Julie Crisave, and it's wool applique. Well, yeah, well, there's no way I can't be in a wool applique group. I have so much wool applique. And it turned out this last week there was a free pattern. A lot of times designers on these Facebook groups every so often will put out a free chart or pattern, or and then you can go to their shop and buy the kit if you don't have the wool, or you want all the little bling blings that go with it. So it turned out this week, one of my, I have this, my list of favorites is very long, and it turned out that Debbie Busby of the Wooden Spool Designs offered a free chart to everybody in the Wool Applique Facebook group. And this was it right here. Oh, well, how could I not? It's absolutely adorable. And it's almost February. So to do something that didn't take, months, like some of my wool projects, I just jumped right in. Hyper-focused, nose to the wool, and I created this. The thing about wool applique, let me just say this. I don't know if you can see, if you've ever done a Sue Spargo class or block of the month, it changes your experience in wool. And although I still continue to embrace the primitive, I always have to put a little bit of bling to it, a little bit extra, a little bit that's going to make it, I made it. And so around the cream colored heart, I did bullions all the way around with silk and pearl. Now, silk and pearl is a thread you can get on Sue Spargo's site. It is like stitching with butter. And if you do want to stitch any kind of wrapped stitch, silk and pearl is the way to go. And the wrap stitches require a Milner needle, and I like these tulip Milner needles. And the reason is because when you do a wrapped stitch, if the needle, like a normal needle would be pointy at the pointy and then bigger at the eye, on a Milner needle, it is the same diameter from point to point. From point to eye, it's the same diameter, so that when you're doing a wrap stitch, when you go to take that wrap off of the needle, it slides off. It isn't having to deal with one end of the needle being bigger and then you're struggling. So definitely, if you're going to jump into any kind of wrap stitch, you're going to want a Milner needle. And there are several different companies. I just happen to like tulip needles. But, and then I chose this really sweet cotton fabric for the back, and I fused all the pieces together, and then I stitched it. And then I found a key charm, and it's, you know, it's not big enough like a table mat or something, but it's just something sweet, and it's something to give if you want to share it with someone, to let them know you're thinking about them. This is really awesome little. So if you join the Wool Applique group, you won't regret it. Let me just say, you won't regret it. Well, I was working on that, but naturally I had to work on finding everything I needed to do that. That means I'd find my Milner needles, I need to find my silk and pearl thread, I needed to find all kinds of stuff. So hold on a second, look at that. One of the spectacular, and I say spectacular, ways that I store a lot of my thread, because literally one of my grandchildren probably will not be able to go to college because of all the money I've spent on thread, but I store a lot in different Yazzie bags. And the reason I use a Yazzie bag is because the pocket systems inside are so, I mean, let me just show you. So this is some of my thread. So you see these pockets with the zipper, and then more. I know, everyone's kind of going, oh my gosh, and this is just a fraction. Yeah, so Yazzie bags is a way to store these spool threads, and they're great for camping and traveling because they are a polyester strong, absolutely strong case, have a handle. Yeah, I wish this would be my screenshot. Yeah. So, I found a project tucked away that I had started, and it was purchased at Pioneer Quilts here in Portland. Dancing Bees Pillow, and it is by Pastime Pieces. When I saw the sample, and that's really what gets you sometimes, that's why I really encourage, when you can, to, when it's not pouring rain, to go into a shop, because there's something about seeing it in person. And so when I saw this sample made up, it was so adorable, I couldn't get it fast enough. And then I did all the wool stitching, and then it got tucked away. Well, spring is coming. I can feel it. The days are getting a little bit longer. And so when I was looking for the other thing, I found this, and it was already all stitched down. It needs to be made into a pillow, and it needed the bees to be stitched on it. I was not going to put bee buttons. Now you can choose, if you can find cute bee buttons, you can put the bee buttons on there and call it good. I love making Spargo bees. Do we even call them Spargo bees? I mean, they're embroidery bees, but I learned it from her. And so there's my stitched bee. It's done with a wrapped stitch called the bullion, and then a daisy stitch and a pistol stitch. And so I did a bee there. I have 3 more bees to put on here. And then once the bees are on here, then I'm going to put the border on and make a pillow for my front bench. But isn't that, yeah. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited that I was so disorganized that I had to hunt for something, and then I found it. I found it, and I found something else. So the other thing that I found, oh, see, and here's, I don't know if you can see that Milner needle. It's huge. You could, you know, it's almost a lethal weapon of a needle. But the other thing that I ran across was the Raspberry Rabbit. Now Michelle, who is the designer behind the Raspberry Rabbit, is so nice. I mean, who wouldn't be nice that had rabbits as pets? I mean, that live in her house. I know. She's so sweet. And she is a fabulous designer. And so I had started and finished the embroidery. And then it's like for me, once I get the fun part done, which is the stitching part, then it gets bogged down. But it's almost February, and I am going to finish this. So here's this chart, and I bought it as a kit. Raspberry Rabbit. And I tell you, when I saw it, I thought, dang, you're a great stitcher. I was really proud of myself. But here it is. Look at that pot. I mean, and she gives you really good instructions on how to create. I mean, that rose, I can't tell you how proud I am. It's gorgeous. So now I just have to cut it out and make it into a little Valentine pillow. I'm really looking forward to that because Valentine's Day is just around the corner. I also you know, we got the Schmitz. We've got the Kathy Schmitz embroidery that I got from Spoonflower. February's coming up, so I am bound and determined to keep up on that. So I have a lot of hand stitching to do in the quilting realm, and I'm inspired because of my friends Colleen and Cheryl of Stitching with the Sisterlies. It is a floss tube, and now they have embarked on a quilt tube, and I just want I want to have the same feeling in the quilting community that I have in the cross stitch community, that kind of connection. And so I'm really excited about all that quilting stuff. On my windowsill, I have this, since I'm in the wool stitching mode, I wanted to share this with you. And this is a book of poetry. Absolutely beautiful poetry that was gifted to me. It's called Apples of Gold, that was gifted to me by a friend named Patty. And this is a while ago, but it had this little tag on it. This is from a birthday. And I just wanted to show you, just to kind of give you inspiration, that there are different things to do with your wool stitching, because I think sometimes we get stumped by the fact on, oh, I'm spending all this money, I'm doing all this time, I have no space to hang all this stuff up. What am I going to do? Well, Patty took a book of poetry and attached a wool piece on the front of it. So she got a used book, a book probably from a bookstore, a secondhand bookstore or an antique store, and she tied it on. She made it like a little quilt, and then she laced it onto the cover of the book. And I have it on one of those little stands so that I can see it all the time. It's so beautiful. Scientists know only what love does. Love, properly applied, could virtually empty our asylums, our prisons, our hospitals. Love is the touchstone of psychiatric treatment. Love can be fostered, extended, used to subjugate hate and thus cure diseases. More and more clearly every day, out of biology, anthropology, sociology, history, economics, psychology, the plain common sense, the necessary mandate of survival, that we love our neighbors as ourselves, is being confirmed and reaffirmed. How lovely is that? So just know that when you are attracted to something stitchy-wise, but what's preventing you from taking the plunge is, what am I going to do with it? Don't let that stop you. Don't let that hinder your ability to enjoy the process of the stitching and to maybe gift it to someone else. I think the world needs more of that. And I think us stitchers and quilters can lead the flock. Okay, those landscapers out there are going to town. I am going to a workshop, a cross-stitch workshop on Sunday. I can't wait. Tomorrow's a big grandson day. He's got swimming lessons and all that kind of stuff. And so it's going to be a busy weekend, and we'll see you next week. Enjoy yourselves. Embrace the moment. You know I love you guys.